everyone, and welcome to today's CRM Magazine web event brought to you by Looker. I'm Bob Fernicke, and I'm the publisher of CRM Magazine, and I'll be the moderator for today's broadcast. Our presentation today is titled Choosing the Right Marketing Technology Stack. Before we start, I just want to explain how you can participate in this live broadcast. There'll be a Q&A session at the end, so if you have a question during the presentation, just type it into the question box and click on the Submit button. We'll try to get to as many questions as possible, but if for some reason we can't get to yours, we'll follow up within a day or two. And just for joining us today, one lucky viewer will win this Amazon Echo Dot, and the winner will be announced at the end of the event, so stay tuned to see if you're the lucky person. Plus, if you'd like a copy of the presentation, you can download a PDF from the resource icon on the console once the event is archived. And in addition, we'll have a couple of polling questions during the event, so would love for you to just make your selections and we'll share the results live. Now to introduce our speaker for today, we have Elena Raul. She is the Product Marketing Manager at Looker. If you want to view her bio, just click on the arrow under her photo on the console. And now I'm going to pass the event over again to Elena Raul. She's the Product Marketing Manager at Looker. Welcome to the broadcast.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Bob. Also, thank you to everybody here. I know we're all busy, all have projects moving, so the fact that you've taken the time out of your day to spend time with me is important. So, as Bob said, I am a Product Marketing Manager at Looker. Just for a little bit of background for you guys. I've dealt mostly in the world of B2B marketing, but Looker is a company that does data analytics, and where I focus on is helping our marketing customers get more from their data. So by talking to our customers about getting more out of their data, I've also learned a great deal about B2C marketing stacks. So that's a little bit of my background for today. Let's get started. As Bob said, there is that Q&A piece down there. Please throw questions in there. I think as interactive as we can make this, the better. There's no right way to build a marketing stack, and it's gotten to the point where it's a little bit ridiculous. I'm sure everybody has seen this, but this is the most recent MarTech landscape. It says MarTech 5000 up there, but I think the most recent count actually on this is somewhere in the 6,000 range. And so what I hope to give you today is a framework for thinking about building your stack and thinking about how to have the most success with marketing technology, and then let you take it from there. So I'm going to pass it back to Bob for this poll.
Hey, thanks, Elena. So we have our first poll popping up. The question is, how many SaaS tools does your marketing team have today? Possible answers: 1 to 5, 6 to 15, 16 to 25, or 26 plus. So if you just make your selections and hit submit, we can come up. And Elena, that was some slide. I've seen that before, or the spreadsheet that it comes from, and it's quite a remarkable number of companies, and I don't know how anyone can keep track of that from year to year, which is done for many years. So
it really is. It's a staggering amount.
Staggering. All right, let's take a look at the poll results. We have them coming in. Okay, again, the question was, how many SaaS tools does your marketing team have today? 1 to 5, 75%. I am really kind of shocked at that. I thought it would be more. Second answer is 6 to 15. Is this something that you expected, Elena?
I have to say I expected it to skew far higher. To me, this is actually shocking. But I hope this content is helpful anyway.
Great. All right. I'll be interested in listening to the rest of your presentation.
Awesome. Okay, so before we dive in, I'm just going to give you a little overview of what you can expect today. We'll talk about kind of taking a step back as you look at this and really trying to build a full picture of kind of what you want and where you're going before you start shopping. And so it's about picking a foundation. We have some material around finding holes where software might be able to help you, and then hitting the market and ultimately measuring the success of your tool implementation. So why do we buy software? It's a simple question, but I do think it's really important to take a step back and think about these things. So in my eyes, there's two real reasons. One is that software makes people more efficient. People are able to do things faster and more accurately. If you have someone who's spending really more than 1 or 2 hours a week working on something that's working on the same thing, it's probably a good opportunity for software to maybe take some of that over. Hiring is also a huge issue for people, and so as we think about how we use our talent and how we leverage our talent, software is an excellent way to get more for your hires. Software also makes budgets more effective. Technology helps us see things that we wouldn't have noticed on our own. It's the wonder of the modern age, but if you can find software that helps optimize the money that you're spending, improve also the ROI of that software, then it also has a huge amount of value. So the first thing to understand is where we're going. Understanding kind of what you see as the goal of buying MarTech is a great place to start. But it's really tempting to just kind of jump in. Odds are you have pain today. There are people spending hours doing things that maybe could be automated. You have outbound emails in your inbox. I'm sure you do. I know I do, offering 10x ROI and huge enterprise companies that saved millions of dollars by using their software. Or oftentimes you have someone new who's coming in who wants to bring in their own technology that they feel more comfortable with. And it's really tempting to just kind of start buying. But I like to think about big projects, especially where you're building, in terms of a railway station and a train. And so if we think about the railway station as marketing nirvana, we then see that the track is how we get there, and the train is us. And odds are this track isn't fully laid. You're heads down laying that track as your train goes speeding forward. And there's also probably feels like there's some fires on that train that really need to be put up. But if you're able to look up long enough and see what that station looks like and where it is, you're going to spend a lot less time picking up the pieces of mistakes that you made from not having that long-term vision. And it takes time to do this, but it's super important to really have a vision in your eyes. So what does that look like? This is what we've heard from our customers as kind of like in their perfect situation, if everything worked perfectly, these are what they would have. They would have a single and complete view of your customer. I don't know anybody who doesn't want that. I know it's kind of the dream of everyone and the reality of nobody. They want multi-touch attribution. If nothing else, they want first touch or last touch attribution. They also want to know that they're going to deliver on their numbers and their quotas. And then they want the right amount of automation. I think the important thing to notice about these two, though, is that while nirvana may seem far away, incremental increases and incremental, strides in any of these areas will help. Having a more complete view of your customer is better than having a less complete view of your customer. It sounds so obvious, but I think we get really tied up in trying to solve all of the problem that like the 80% that we can get to doesn't seem acceptable. So once you kind of figure out where you're going, it's important to put in place the right foundation that you can build your marketing stack on top of. And so to learn a little bit more about you, I'm going to pass it off to Bob for another poll.
Great, thanks, Elena. Okay, so the question is, what's at the core of your marketing stack? First possible answer is Marketo, HubSpot, Pardot, Eloqua, Adobe. Second possible answer is another marketing automation solution. Third possible answer is CRM platform. Fourth is no system at all. Or fifth, I think I counted that right, is actively shopping. So I'll give everybody a some time to take a look at it. Just so everybody knows, they're not on the phone alone. We have a bunch of different companies, everything from 2 separate large automotive manufacturers to actually several manufacturers, not just automotive, some high-tech companies, publishing companies, financial services companies. So there's a big skew here, healthcare. And all right, let's take a look at the results that have come in. I think we've given everybody enough time. Okay, so what's at the core of your marketing stack? 13% says Marketo, HubSpot, Pardot, Eloqua, Adobe. I would have thought that would be higher. Some other marketing automation, for some reason, that's at 0. CRM is the big winner with 61%. No system is 17%. And actively shopping, almost 9%. Again, Elena, is that something that surprises you?
Just as you said, I would have expected the Marketo, HubSpot, and other marketing automation buckets to be a little bit fuller, but I think that it's super interesting. Even I'm learning a lot during this webinar.
That's great.
Yeah. Okay, so this is great. For those who have no system in place who are shopping, I think for everyone, this is hopefully going to be a good way to think about things. So as you're thinking about the foundation of your marketing stack, there's 4 things that I found that really make the difference between something being successful and something really just not being able to deliver and not being able to be that base that you need. As I started going through this list, I was kind of struck by how much it aligned with one of my favorite quotes. For any Lord of the Rings nerds out there, this is from the Fellowship of the Ring, and it's the description on the inside of the ring. So we have one ring to rule them all, and if you think about it, just replace ring for platform. One ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. A little bit dark, but a fun way to think about buying your marketing automation or your marketing stack. So one platform to rule them all. Marketing automation is your foundation. There's a huge amount of possibilities out there for you. I think, in my eyes, one of the best places to get information is from other people who are using it. People like you who are in the trenches every day trying to make it work for what they need are going to be a great source of knowledge for you. This is a G2 crowd report. I find their stuff super helpful, but there's a number of other options out there for you. But what I think is the key here is depth. This is going to be the base and the jumping off point of everything you do. It's incredibly important that it's robust enough to hold the architecture that you're thinking of building. I would caution people against getting in, feature battles with these tools. As you saw, there's a lot of other tools out there, and so if there's, more superficial functionality that you need to supplement, odds are there is a different tool for it. But if it's lacking certain core fundamental functionality, then you're not going to be able to build on top of it, and you're really going to dig yourself into a hole. I'd also say that buying this is really easy, and replacing it is nearly impossible because it does become the center. All right, one platform to find them all. So what does their partner network look like? It's something that I didn't really think about until I really needed it. You don't want to have to do all of the work all the time for this platform. So finding a company that has a rich network of consultants and experts in it will definitely help you improve. For us, what I found actually is that when we were trying to implement a blog subscription, we were able to do all of it with the marketing automation tool we had, except the issue for us was the technology that would take the top blogs from our website and populate that into the email that was automatically sending every week. And so what we did is we found a partner actually we use Marketo, and they had built something. They had built like a tiny piece of technology that did just that. And we were able to buy this really tiny little block that was able to pull everything together for us, and that's really where the value of a network comes in. One platform to bring them all. Do they have a strong customer community? Conferences and meetups, getting face-to-face time with other people who are using these platforms is really important because their odds are they're either trying to or have already solved the problems that you're trying to solve. There's also some great community message boards where you can really find people who are pushing this technology and get inspiration as to how better you could use it. The last piece is in the APIs behind them. This is really important. I can't stress that enough. The whole goal is that this becomes the center it becomes like the nexus of your tool, of your stack. And to be at the center, it has to be able to connect to other things. And so does it connect to your other systems, as in, can you get do your other systems pull into it? I know we pull Salesforce data into our Marketo instance, but we then push our Marketo data back into Salesforce. But there's a lot of tools out there, and making sure that you find a platform that has a robust enough API to support everything that you want to put on top of it is definitely something to watch out for. It's also something that's going to help you scale, because as you continue to grow and as you continue to add more tools, which you inevitably will, it needs to be able to hold up to that kind of scrutiny. Okay, so next up we want to identify our holes. If we go back to our little train station image, we can see that we now know where we're going, hopefully. And the next question is where are we today? Where are we making mistakes? Where are these mistakes could potentially be hurting our customers or hurting our interactions with our customers, and finding software that can improve our customer's experience and the way that our customer interacts with us, no matter what it is definitely an opportunity for software. Also look around your team and think who is significantly overworked. Odds are that they have some portion of their workflow that could be automated or that could be at least helped by software. Where are we missing opportunities? Technologies around ABM, around content marketing. I don't know what the next hot thing is that everyone has to have is. But there's a lot of different tech out there for that. There's also a lot of tech that can help you, identify opportunities in your own data. So making sure that you're getting the most of that. And then also, what do we wish we knew? When we went back to marketing or marketing nirvana, a lot of those questions were about tying the data together to get more out of it. And so one of the ways to identify holes is being able to go back to that nirvana and ask yourself those questions and figure out what it is that's blocking you from being there. And what I would caution against is focusing on the fires. There's certainly something to take into account, but if you're buying software to put out every fire and to, react to every whim, you're going to get yourself into a mess, and you're going to be paying a lot of money for software that you may not be using. All right, we have our shopping list, so to speak. Let's hit the market. We know where we're going and we know where our holes are. So now the question is just how do we get there? So simple. It's funny, I was thinking about this earlier and thinking about like what you need and like the holes that you're able to identify in your business before you go shopping for SaaS tools. And I was picturing myself at a grocery store without a shopping list, being very hungry and imagining the food that I bring home when that happens. So it's a important thing to have when you go out and you hit this kind of crazy market. So how do you tell if the tool is right for you? First and foremost, does this product solve our problem? It sounds so obvious, but if you go back to what actually like the root cause is of that pain, the very base of it, checking if it actually solves that problem, if it like eliminates that pain, is super important. Additionally, does it work with your other tools? Having data in silos is not going to help you reach that marketing nirvana. And so what you need is you need your tools to work together to form that ideal marketing stack. And so making sure that these tools are open enough and have enough connectivity to interface with the other ones and so you get the most out of everything is really important. Next up is it priced properly? There's a lot of tools out there that add value. The question is, do they add enough value to make up for how they're priced? And that's something that you have to decide, on your own and decide where your holes are. But it's easy to get, kind of swept away in the promises and not really think about what is the actual impact. And then the last part is, can we implement and maintain it? I've definitely seen people who buy tools and they implement them and they're great, and 6 months later, though, there's nobody there to handle it. So when something breaks, nobody's there to fix it, there's no one there to answer the problems, and there's no one there to really like make sure that we are getting the most of it. Because really there's an app for everything. You got like the MarTech, it's insane. And so really the question is do we need an app for that? It seems like this maybe isn't actually the problem of the people on this webinar. But I was at a meetup the other night and one of the presenters said this. They had done an audit and they had as many SaaS apps as they had employees. And I think just about everybody in the audience felt that pain and felt empathized with their plight. And so, watch out for sprawl and an explosion of tools. So once we've kind of made our purchases, it's important that we, implement it correctly and make sure that we're getting the most out of it. But then measure the success of these tools and go back and make sure that they're having impact and solving the problems that we're wanting them to solve. A great way to do that is to check in on how we're doing on Nirvana. So, do we have a single complete view of our customers? Yes, no. Has it gotten better? Has it gotten worse? How do we feel about this? Can we do multi-touch attribution? If not, have we gotten closer? Do we have first touch? Do we have last touch? Where are we actually moving forward on this? Do we know if we're going to hit our quotas? It's knowing that if you're at 80% and you're 20% through the quarter is a great feeling, but also knowing if you're 20% and 80% through the quarter is also something that you definitely want to know. So are we getting closer there? And then also, do we have the right amount of automation? So when you think about these, I go back to them and I look at them, and they're all data related. do we have a single complete view of our customer? What that basically comes back to is, do we have the data on every touch point, and then are we able to tie that data together in a way that makes sense for us to actually use it? The multi-touch attribution thing, again, is about data. Do we have all the touch points, and can we link that with our CRM data or our transactional data or with whatever the other side of the attribution is? There are tools out there that doing attribution for the sake of attribution is not necessarily a good thing. And so making sure that you know also what you want to get from attribution and how you want to use that information and what value it has to you, and then making sure that not only are you able to say that, you know, your team brought in a lead or your team influenced this deal, but you're also able to take the time and step back and see the whole picture and see what's influencing your customers along their journey and along their journey through your funnel, and where the best pieces are hitting them and how you can maximize that. Do we know if we're going to hit our numbers and quotas? So simple. You really just need to be able to see it in context. So can we see the leads that we're delivering, the meetings we're delivering, whatever your KPI is? Can we see that relative to where we are in our time frame, let's say quarter? And then do we also have enough context to know if that's good? Because maybe you're 10% through the quarter and only 5% to your goal. But if you're able to look at maybe last quarter and see that it actually does take an uptick at the end of the quarter, or maybe that same time period last year, and know that August is a little bit slow, but don't worry, it'll pick up in September, is far more valuable. And then the last piece is, do we have the right amount of automation? At the end of the day, automation really just is data used to trigger things. And so the question is do we have the right data to trigger the things that we want to do? And is the data, do we trust the data enough to actually do that? If we have dirty data leading to marketing automation, we have the potential to make quite a mess and have it running in the background and maybe not even realize it for a while. It's also, automation tends to build on each other, and so creating a bit of a nest of things results in a world where you have, you know, downstream consequences of changes. You know, maybe you change just how a metric is, you know, defined in one of your systems, and it breaks something further down the line. That comes back to that right amount of automation. And like when you think about your stack kind of in general, the way to test for success and the way to monitor your needs, in my opinion, for the most part, it all comes back to data. There are definitely tools out there that are like, you know, a little bit more fringe and like very point specific, and those are great and maybe not as data driven, but the real core that you're running on every day should be giving you the data that you need. And what's frustrating is I feel like we see customers buying tools, and we hear that they're not getting the most out of them. And so what people are seeing is that they can't access the data that they need. There's a lot of silos when you start buying a lot of tools, and so that really brings that connectivity back to the surface, right? Like that importance to it. Additionally, like if you're trying to do attribution and you can't even get your conversion data and your transactional data, then you're not really going to be able to do much in the way of attribution. We hear about teams that disagree on data, and it's one thing to disagree amongst yourselves. You know, one system is reporting this, another system is reporting this, and have those disagreements. It becomes even worse when you bring those numbers to sales and they have yet another number, and you bring them to your CFO who has yet another number, and you start to argue more about the numbers than you are about why they are where they are. And finding, stitching data together in Excel. It's a painful process. We've all done it. You should be doing it the least amount possible. So this is kind of where we see data nirvana. If we've checked all the boxes and done everything right, in my eyes, you have your metrics defined, and they tie everything together, and everyone's on the same page. You have a single source of truth. Nobody is questioning where those numbers came from because they're all in alignment on it, and they all trust the system that everybody is pulling from. Everybody is getting that number from the same source. Also, we have a full view of our customer. It kind of takes all the data that a customer touches to get that 360-degree view. Not really a shocking concept, but it is important that when we try and go look at that, we do have that full access to all the data and all of their touch points. Data also needs to be fresh. Making decisions based on numbers that we pulled from our system a week or a month ago isn't a good call. It's not going to lead you in the right direction, and it's not going to help you be data-driven because that data is stale, and it's also very flat. And so digging in more isn't really possible with those kind of pulled reports. I think what to me is the most important is that it kind of like wraps up in that like you have the data you want the moment you need it. What we've seen is that it kind of, when you're truly able to do this, it becomes a bit of like a reflex to go to the data, which is really awesome to see when you're having a conversation and someone's just like, well, let's just check the data. We don't need to have an argument about this. We don't need to, exchange our opinions. Let's see what the data says, and you can get to an answer much more quickly. So hopefully you're feeling a little bit more confident building your setup here. And so what do you do now? My top 6 recommendations would be today to go do an audit of what you have. For those of you who said that you had so few tools, I am curious to see actually if when you go and you ask around, if that number holds true. Next piece is go and talk to your team, see what success means. It takes time and it takes effort, but getting everybody on the same page and aligned towards the same goals makes buying easier for all parties involved because you can always just point back to this nirvana that we've defined together. Make sure you have the right foundation in place. For those of you shopping, make sure you do it well. And then really just go think about where software can add the most value and do your research. You are never going to regret having too much information. You may regret not knowing something. So getting as many data points as you can before you purchase something, especially if it's a big purchase, is key. And then once all this is done, you can bask in the glory of your beautiful new tech stack and your marketing nirvana that hopefully is closer than ever before. So with that, I am going to hand it back to Bob.
Great, thanks so much, Elena. Okay, are we ready for our Q&A? I guess we are. All right, so great presentation, by the way, and I think this is probably the first time someone has went through an entire educational presentation and never mentioned their company once. So I'm going to give you a reward on that. That was really great.
Thank you. I try.
That was great. It took us really from the preliminary why even buy software through creating a map, building foundations, spotting holes, filling holes, measuring success. That was absolutely awesome. So I am going to get to our first question here. If you just bear with me for a second. Okay, great. What are the most frequent products you see in your customers' stacks? I know you have some some ideas on that, since we were both a little bit surprised that people had less SaaS products in their stack than we would have guessed.
Certainly. So I think most frequently for us, it's a marketing automation tool in our CRM. So those two together kind of make up the foundation for people. From there, it splits off based on B2B versus B2C. Most people will have some form of social data. They'll have some sort of like platform that's managing that then. They'll also have some sort of web data and whatever product is collecting or managing that. And then we see a lot of people doing really cool stuff with neat new technology out there. There's a lot of cool automation things, and also some great kind of personalization that we've been seeing. So I would say that would be my answer.
Okay, great. Now, I love your analogies with the train station and how that kind of carried all through. Your Lord of the Rings references and your tree graphic, yeah, there was some really great stuff there. You mentioned a number of attributions methods, and actually in your marketing nirvana was a multi-touch attribution, or automation actually, or was that attribution? I forget. Anyway, which attribution method do you think is the best?
I think you have to have them all, in all honesty. The attribution model that you choose will impact what you focus on. And so if you choose something like a first touch attribution model, you'll end up focusing on the activities that bring in leads. And it's really great when you're trying to build a database. But if you're trying to maybe do something more like convert that database, focusing on last touch will really give you that. And so having all of these different options available to your team to let them think about what they're trying to accomplish with the program, and then look at attribution around that, is the best route in my eyes.
Okay, great. Here's a question from a viewer. How is opportunity defined, i.e., how to reveal a hidden opportunity?
I think, so opportunity is a very vague word. I'll come clean to that. To me, an opportunity is something that allows you to be better, and so equally big. It may be something in like finding a new revenue stream. We've had a couple of customers do that, or just like identifying programs that are working better or bringing in better leads than you thought. Looking at like customer lifetime value when you think about your programs is super valuable, because what you end up finding is that maybe a channel like Facebook brings in more, closes more deals in the short run, but like in the long run, when you start to look at those customers 6 or 12 months out, it turns out that the customers that are coming in from something like maybe webinars end up being far more valuable. And so knowing that kind of, like, that gives you the opportunity to focus on where you can get the most bang for your buck. There's so many opportunities hidden in data, and it's really just digging in and finding them. I think it's going to be different for every single company, but whatever it is, like, they're all there. We've had some customers find some very cool things. Actually, I will tell you guys one little anecdote. We had a customer that's like they're a hotel aggregator company. And so one of their marketing associates went in and looked at their distribution of buyers and also referrers. And so what you had is you had people who had booked many hotel rooms and referred a lot of people, people who had booked many hotel rooms and not referred anybody. But you also had this weird camp of people who had never booked a hotel room, but had a very high level of referrals, which is, it's a weird thing. Why would you refer a product if you've never used it? And so what they did is they went it, right? It's counterintuitive. And so they went in and they looked at who those people were, and they emailed them and they said, why are you referring our product? And it turns out that all those people, they were taxi drivers, they were bartenders, they were flight attendants. They were the people that get asked, well, where should I stay tonight? And so they were able to put together a program that incentivized, those folks to refer their product, and were able to capitalize on that because referrals were more valuable to them than anything else.
Right. It's like hidden influencers that, they kind of uncovered. It's funny because I may have been in this industry for too long or been in sales too long, but every time I hear opportunity, in a business conversation, I always think of something that has a dollar value associated with it and something that has a probability to close value associated with it, and that's it. But yeah, it's actually much broader than that. Okay, so the next question is, and this is kind of broad, what are the best practices that you've seen for ROI calculations, especially in a B2B scenario?
That is a great question.
We can follow up with email in a couple days if
No. I think it's a great question. I think what I've seen is just the best practices are getting as much data behind it as humanly possible. It's also, there's a piece of it that's how you calculate things like a conversion, or like what is it that you're actually trying to get, and what is it that you're doing to get it, and defining those metrics potentially yourself. We have customers that, they have their Google AdWords data, and Google AdWords will have something like they will count the number of conversions, but to them, someone just clicking is in the conversion. And what is a conversion to them is when their BDR team or their SDR team is able to actually go and qualify them. That's what they're counting as a conversion. So making sure that you're using the proper numbers for your business, but just more data.
Great. I'm going to pull Looker into this and your products and your technologies, just because I'd love to hear how Looker kind of helps create the marketing nirvana situation that you were able to describe with your train station stack. And I also know that Looker's actually won several awards and has great online reputation. So can you kind of give us sort of a short preview of how Looker would help pull together all this data from all sorts of the 6,000 different marketing apps that are out there?
I would be happy to. So the idea behind Looker is that you take all your data and you put it in one place, and then you put Looker on top of it as a lens into that data. And so what that means is that in Looker, you define what your metrics mean. You define what a conversion is for you. You define what a monthly active user is in your terms. And then you build, dashboards or reports off of that, and that's great, and that gives everyone, insight into the freshest, most accurate data. But the best part is that you're connected to live data, and so when you see things like spikes in, web traffic or whatever it may be, you can drill into them and start to kind of go I consider it like data spelunking. To really find out and dig in to understand more. And so when you're able to look at these different pieces of data together, they're all far more valuable. And so Looker gives you that 360-degree view because it puts all the data in one place. I'd say the last thing I would mention is that we also believe that data should drive action. And so we do everything in our power to enable the platform to really do that. So we have the ability to, pause an AdWord or change a campaign directly from the platform, but also integrations with things like Slack, and so you can, just chat someone your data, and also a lot of alerting potential, and so you can identify things when they're happening and, take action quickly.
Great. I was just, as you were speaking, I was kind of like jumping through a bunch of the questions that we have coming in, and a lot of people are asking real specifics, which I'm not going to ask you right now, because basically they were asking for recommendations, probably based on the fact that you've seen a lot of CRM systems, marketing automation systems, and different systems, so they're asking for recommendations like, what would you recommend? You can follow up by email with those. We don't want to probably put those out there over a live broadcast, but
I'm happy to tell you guys like what we use.
Sure. That's not going to cross someone.
Yeah, no, we're not private about that. I told you that we use Marketo.
Right.
For us, we've found that it has the most robust automation. It has some functionality. It has like a notion of smart lists where you can create some really advanced filtering, and then also smart campaigns where you can create some really advanced triggers. And between those two features, you're able to like really segment your audience and send them super specific content for them, which to us is really powerful. We then also use Salesforce. There's something to be said for the industry standard.
Right.
It's certainly the CRM we see the most. As far as marketing automation, we've also been seeing a lot of HubSpot. And people are super pleased with that because it also works in, I think, social into it as well. And so for companies where that's a big part of their focus, it's also super valuable to them.
Great. I think you just made a bunch of people happy here that were kind of asking the same question in different ways. So
yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
I guess I'd say one more thing is that like nothing is perfect. In another life, I was our Marketo administrator, and there were times when I wanted to throw it out the window. But it did the best job. And at the end of the day, if it's not perfect, it needs to be the best, and you need to be able to get around any shortcomings.
Okay, great. I apologize to some people with their questions. Sometimes it's hard for me to sort of formulate what's typed into the box, but let me just see if I can. We've actually kind of answered a lot of these, even though we didn't address them specifically. So, Elena, would you mind if we just kind of ended things early? Is there anything you'd like to sort of add, in terms of Looker helping people reach that marketing nirvana train station?
Sure. I think in my eyes, like, marketing needs to take control of their own destiny when it comes to analytics. There's a lot more to BI and analytics than just SQL and, creating reports. And you can find people to help you do, like, the back-end technical pieces. Like, we're marketers. We know how to throw money at problems. But you need to know what you want and, like, find tools that can help you get to where you need to be. Finding things that integrate are, like, really key. So our marketing department uses Looker, and I love Looker.
That's great.
It's obviously, like, it's my own product, so I guess in theory they pay me to say that. But as a marketer, for me, it's super powerful because I can go in and I know that I'm going to New York and I want to talk to customers who have more than 500 employees and are, have a health score of more than 90, and I can get that information in, like, a minute. And so to me, like being able to do things like that myself and just having it be that default reaction is great, and it's really what drives our company.
Well, you know, the best evangelists are the people that actually use the product on a regular basis.
I agree. I very much agree.
Right. So yeah. So listen, thanks so much for sharing your knowledge and just actually, you know what? Let me just take a quick look at the questions again here. Okay. If I can get to them here.
I see actually a question that came in on AI and predictive.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, it took me a second to get there, but sure. We have plenty of time, so feel free.
Yeah. No, I'm more than happy to comment on that.
Okay. Let me just take a look.
Something else?
No. Is it Warren's question? I can't.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, no comments. Okay. I'm not sure what the question is, but basically, is it the one you're seeing that says no comments?
Please
on
comment
AI
on
predictive analytics?
Please comment on AI predictive.
Oh, please comment.
I guess I would take that as that.
Okay, got it. Yep. Do you have any comments?
I certainly do. I think that AI and predictive analytics, machine learning, all of these things are super important and are going to help drive us forward. It's really tempting to look at machine learning and artificial intelligence as kind of this like panacea for all of our marketing woes, but it's not incredibly valuable to, in my eyes, seeing how many people are going to buy tomorrow isn't helpful if you can't even like really determine how many people bought today. And I think though, like where we stand at Looker is that we help you, we are a platform, and you build a strong foundation and you build in like all that business logic and all the the data dictionary of your business, and then you use the platform to power your machine learning. So we internally send data into our predictive operators. I don't know, I guess what you would say there. I'm a marketing expert. But we send data into them, and then this data comes back out. We put it back into our system, and then we show it in Looker. And so we do use it. It's just powered through Looker, not done in Looker.
Okay. Just for my own edification, where are we, meaning any kind of marketing organization, where is it right in the very beginning stages of people, going out on a limb and doing AI predictive analytics, or is it somewhere closer to the maturation stage, or where are we in that right now? Just, in a general terms. I don't know if you have any comments.
It's a great question. I think, yeah, no, definitely. I think we're at the beginning. We're just getting there. As I said, I think we really need to learn to crawl. It's a crawl, walk, run scenario kind of thing.
Right.
I was actually watching, I'm going to see if I can remember what it was. I was watching a video from Google Marketing Live, and it was a keynote. Here it is. It was a keynote that was titled How Leading Marketers Use Technology for Growth. And it was a study that Google did with Bain into what marketers are doing and identifying like the key attributes of leaders versus laggards. And the leaders, even like their top of mind was not AI and machine learning. It was still just like getting to a point where they feel comfortable in what they're doing today. At least that's what I took away from it. Please feel free to go and watch it. I thought it was very interesting.
Really?
It's by Karen Ooh, probably butchering that, but I thought it was great.
Well,
and then and they make the full report available as well. So I have that open on my desktop. Just need to get some time to read it.
Yeah, one of the downsides of reading a lot and sort of being in the middle of a lot of technology advances, especially from the marketing side of things, is that sometimes I at least am a victim of the marketing hype machine. So it's always good to sort of have a much more grounded view of reality, which is, I guess, what the leaders are looking at. They want to get comfortable with what they're doing right now. So
completely.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say, like, I got an email today, and the subject line was, "Is content marketing dead?" And I was like, no, it's not dead. Like, people still rely heavily on content, and so, like, especially in the Valley, we can kind of get sucked into our own feedback loop.
Right.
So go back to basics.
Yeah. Well, listen, thanks so much for helping, cut through the, cut through the clutter and just tell people like it is. Really appreciate that. I'm sure people that have logged on appreciate that kind of, open honesty and, tell it like it is attitude. So now I also want to mention, because I mentioned earlier that we would be picking a winner for an Amazon Echo Dot. Oh, you know what? Let me just thank everyone first that submitted questions, and also really like to thank you, Alina. Again, Alina Rowell, Product Marketing Manager at Looker. And I want to do a little housekeeping here. If you'd like a copy of the presentation, you can download it once the event is archived, which will be tomorrow afternoon. Don't worry. We will send you an email once the event is archived. Also, if you'd like to share the presentation, you can use the same URL, but that URL will also be in the email as well, so to make it nice and easy. You can visit the event anytime in the next 90 days or share, like I said, the URL. And getting back to our winner, the winner is John Halsell. He's won the Amazon Echo Dot. John, we will be in touch with you by email so you can claim your prize. Thanks again, Alina, and that concludes our broadcast for today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This concludes today's webcast. Thank you for your participation. You may now disconnect. Speakers, please stand by for your post-conference.